Welcome to another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Your host, Eddie Arnell, my man, G. Witt, Mr. J. Luke. Tighten up, boys. Tighten up, fellas.
Baby. Tighten up.
What's going on, gentlemen? Here we are again. What is it, week 14?
Week 14.
Week 14. Man, how the season has gone by so fast. The Titans coming into this week, guys, looking to kind of right the ship, right? An embarrassing loss in Philadelphia. Or they gave up a 40 burger. And then, you got the J-Rob incident that happened this week where he got fired. And so a lot of lingering things over this football team coming into this game. And from the outset of it, some of the fans, some of us thought this was a favorable matchup to have right after a week that you've had. This is a matchup that, potentially you should have won. And so, but we had, again, some injuries pop up on the defensive side of the ball, which we knew was going to cause an issue throughout this game and could factor in the outcome. Results: Jags 36, Titans 22.
And could factor in the outcome.
Got some feedback here.
Results: Jags 36, Titans.
Okay, there we go. All right. So, this was a game that was, the typical normalcy for this football team. It was played pretty decent first half, second half, not. And so, second half, I'm going to call it horrific. How about that? And especially offensively. And
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with you this week, J. Luke, because even though I went with G. Witt last week, he passed the buck. But since you were kind of on the man today, J. Luke, and you saw it at a different viewpoint than we did, give me some takeaways from your initial thoughts after this loss.
So Chig needs to get more playing time because I think we saw today that he is the real deal and he gives you another weapon at offense. That's about it that I have good. I don't understand. G. Witt kept saying it last week, and G. Witt said it on the emergency show after J-Rob on Tuesday. There's no way that Mike Vrabel can get up at the podium tomorrow and say that Dennis Daly gives them the best opportunity to win.
Oh my Lord, please don't
tackle. Like I haven't been watching football as long as G. Witt, of course, but I know football. We all do. I've never seen a tackle get beat so bad when the tight end was chipping for you. The tight end chipped, and you didn't even put a pinky on him. So this is a bad football team. That's I feel bad for players like Byard, who I think is just giving his all. And I think this team has the right culture and has the right leaders to get it afloat. But I think the last domino that's got to fall to get them to buy in. Todd Downing didn't have 4 turnovers today. I hear everybody that says that. But when you're getting boat raced at home and you decide to do a trick play,
by the Jags.
By the Jags, you should be fired immediately for trying a trick play down by 30. That alone is a fireable offense. And it goes back to what we've said the entire season. He doesn't have a feel for the game on how to call the plays. I was on the men, didn't get to make it today. So watching from the luxury of the couch, I don't know how many times I kept yelling, why are we not bootlegging? Did we just forget how to do naked bootlegs and rollouts? Because to Tannehill's credit, yes, he's standing in the pocket, but you can't stand in the pocket when the pocket is in your lap as soon as you snap the ball. You saw it on the other side of the field. Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine had a heck of a day, but look how many of his passes were short passes. Were many screens are very short. Why? And again, the defensive stats are going to look skewed when you look at our total yards because nobody's attempting to run the ball on us because you can't. And then I'm going to sit back there and pass when you decide not to blitz me and let me stay back there all day. Danico Archer, we have not had a pass rush since the Green Bay Packers Thursday night game when Danico went down. And everybody should hope that was this his 4th game he missed? Third game he missed. Mm-hmm. Everybody should hope that he's at practice this week and can come back because it's just that D line does not exist without him. It's not enough big plays being made. And then I think this made 3 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken, that we didn't force a turnover. So when you lose, we've always said it, and I texted y'all earlier, this at the beginning of this game, after the second turnover, I said this felt like The Houston Texans game from last year.
Yep.
when we blew that one with turnovers. So
without the bad weather.
Without the bad weather. So when you give a bad team, and the Jags are a bad team record-wise, when you get a bad team like that, life to be in it, because think about it, the very beginning of the game, we're easily looking at this being 21-24 to nothing if you take away the turnovers, and that could change the whole complex of the game. But I guess the other silver lining is they actually scored over 20 points this week. So but yeah,
and a touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
whoa.
I mean, but overall, man, it's just injuries are piling up. You saw it again today with Hillard. Looked like he knocked himself out making a tackle. I will say this: even though he played a lot, the one silver lining about Hillard getting hurt, Derrick Henry can actually play on third down. It's not bad. I mean, he had several great checkdowns, and I felt like he held up well in pass protection. So that's something that you should probably put in the playbook going forward. But you really got to turn it on there, because you've made, again, as I said 2 weeks ago, it's a good thing you gave yourself this cushion and that you play in the AFC South, because you still own your own destiny. But at this point in time, this looked like a team that was ready to pack it up at the end of the season and not go to the playoffs.
T-Wick, go ahead, man.
Okay, I'm not as sunshine and roses as J. Lou on this deal. Let me just put it out here real quick. I'm just gonna say it. One, Vrabel's just being stubborn, man. He's just being stubborn, because this you cannot tell me that there isn't another left tackle in the league or on the street who can play better than Dennis Daly. You simply just can't tell me that. I don't care if you hadn't been looking. You need to start looking. You can't tell me you don't have another tackle on your team that can't play better than Dennis Daly. So Vrabel, that's Vrabel being stubborn and not wanting to eat crow and say what everybody else is saying. Number two, and we've been saying this all season, Ty Downing is an absolute train wreck. Absolute train wreck. And I'm going to put this out here now. I've been saving it since we left the game. I'm going to put it out here now. And I hate saying it because I hate putting things out into the atmosphere, so to speak. But we would not win another game if Ty Downing is still on the squad calling plays. We just won't. And we're averaging 18.6 points a game. 18.6. And only 4.6 in the second half. So you ain't even scoring a touchdown a game in the second half. That's just how bad this offense is. Now, granted, the offensive line is not good. Dennis Daly he's a train wreck too. But the bottom line is, with this offense being the way it is, and with Todd Downing, that play he called to Derrick Henry, a direct snap in crunch time, you trying to score, that was about the dumbest play call I've ever seen in my life. And he's made plenty of them this season. But that one just takes the cake.
You know what that made me think of? Not trying to cut you off, with. That made me think of what is either you or Ed earlier in the year said, he just got the play card and he's just going down checking them off.
I've been saying that. I've been saying this.
There's no way that play call should have been called.
And I'm going to say this: Vrabel allowing that play call to be made.
Right.
You know, he might be packing it in, because I'm telling you, man, that play call just didn't make any sense. I'm not as hard on the defense. Don't get me wrong; they need to play better. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the problem you got right now is that you got players out there who are just slow. Let's just be real about it. I said it earlier in the week when I saw that David Long Jr. wasn't going to be playing. We're going to be extremely slow at linebacker, and tight ends are going to have a field day. And that's what we're going to run into for the next until he comes back, or Zach Cunningham comes back, whichever one. I don't think Zach Cunningham's coming back. So we're gonna be slow at linebacker for a while. They'll be better off really playing 3 to 4 safeties, playing them up and just put some extra speed out there, as opposed to playing these linebackers, because these linebackers are slow as molasses, and the defense is just flat out worn out. Yeah. Let's just be real about it. They're worn out. No, they can't. They do fine at the beginning of the game, but after a while, your offense cannot drive the ball. I'm not even talking about scoring touchdowns. I'm just talking about coming up with a drive. They can't come up with a drive to give the defense a chance to sit on the sideline not only rest, but to also make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you coming in the and you running 3 and outs or turning the ball over before the defense could even sit down and take a breather. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So the offense is really the biggest issue with this team. I looked it up. 2020, we were averaging 30.7 points a game. 2021, we was averaging 24.6 points a game. This year, we're averaging 18.6. And again, we're not scoring in the second half. I went down to games and just checked. Right. The only time I'm serious, I look, because I'm like, I cannot be the only one who's seeing this. I cannot be the only one.
You're not.
I know they're looking at stats and everything. I cannot be the only one to see that we've had 5 games where we've scored 0 points in the second half. We've had 3 games where we only scored field goals.
That's right.
Sometimes only 1. And we've only had a few games where we actually scored a touchdown. That's and right. Only 2 of them where we scored it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was Denver and this one.
Yeah. So let's look at this thing, man. Something's wrong with this offense that Vrabel just simply does not want to acknowledge. And I'm like you, J. Lou, if he comes in tomorrow and say Todd Downing is still our offensive coordinator, Amy needs to call him in the office and take him to the woodshed. Yes. Because there's absolutely no way you can say your offense is functional. Don't give me we got a block better. Don't give me that noise. Your play calling stinks. You can't do that, man. You can't just get up there talking about we got to block better. Yeah, you got to block better, but you got to call better plays. How you going to be in third and forever on your own end inside the 10 and call a tight end screen?
A tight screen.
Flare screen. A flare
screen. With a tight end. Who does that, man? That's when the Bulls really came out. Because I'm like, dude, really? I mean, first of all, you're not blocking up anything well. Your wideouts are not blocking well. And your tight ends are making catches and everything. But the bottom line is, poor Tannehill, I felt for him, man, because a lot of passes he had, he simply just didn't have time to make them.
Can't step up in the pocket when you got your offensive line in your lap.
Yeah, that pass he threw to Derrick Henry in the flat on that last drive, if he had just a half a second more, he could have made a better pass. But he's up there. He already got the defensive lineman around his ankle. He got to get rid of the ball so he doesn't take a sack. Dennis Daly cannot block, man. And it ain't just because we're put it like this. It is not because we're in a situation where he has to pass block all the time. When he calls the first fumble.
Yes.
And that was just, I'm like, he just blown by. I mean, I don't care what anybody say. Vrabel can say whatever he wants to say. He's being stubborn. He doesn't want to admit that his left tackle is no good and he needs to cut him. And I don't understand why, when you had no hesitation in cutting a receiver 3-4 years ago when you first started, when he dropped the pass, even though you regretted it, you had no problems with benching Mariota when he wasn't playing well. You cannot tell me that you don't have another left tackle that can play better than this boy. He cannot play left tackle. He can't move. He gets blown by. And like you said, your tight end is chipping and he's still getting beat.
Like a drum.
I mean, the offense is just flat out dumb. I'm just going to call it like it is. It's dumb football. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just dumb. So if I'm saying it right now, if Downing is still calling this offense, going down the stretch, we won't win another game. We won't beat Houston. We definitely won't beat the Chargers and the Cowboys. And I doubt if we'll beat the Jags, even though it'd probably be a must-win game. If Todd Downing is calling the plays, we won't win. Bottom line. That's my take.
You sure? I feel like, hey, I put it in the show because you done the whole show. Thank y'all for joining us tonight for another episode. So, man, I can't even follow that up. We already talked about the Nick. So here's something that we need to do at this point in time. So they really need to evaluate the strength and conditioning team for the Titans. There's 2 minutes off tissue injuries, 2 years in a row. And you see it. Now, is it effective or is it ineffective for the starters not to play in preseason. That's a big debate, and you still see it 2 years in a row that he's done this, Vrabel, right? And 2 years we've had all these soft tissue injuries. You go back before that, what? You didn't have that many injuries.
No.
I mean, outside of Landry has got an ACL, you got Lewan with an ACL. A lot of these guys, Cunningham's got an elbow, but a lot of these guys, hamstrings.
Groins and hamstrings.
I mean, it's time to look at something there. I mean, again, you don't play in preseason. You go week 4 or 5, you finally start getting in some shape. But man, that takes a toll on you. That takes a toll on you. And poor Big Jeff, man, he's worn out. There's nobody else. There's nobody else out there causing any confusion, any havoc. I mean, Bud played a decent game today. Had to give him his props. You see what they think about Weaver. He wasn't even playing at first. He didn't get into the second quarter. Yeah. And so, you like what Monty Rice did. He had 12 tackles today leading the team. And again, you just got to start looking at some of these things, man, as we talk about, the Dennis Daly and down and blah, blah, blah. And as far as the offense goes, 364 yards of total offense. So the numbers are skewed, right? You see that, you say, man, that's a pretty good game, right? Skewed. And I heard somebody on the radio talking about Tannehill gave up, like he was. I don't think so. I think Tannehill played actually pretty good, considering what the position he was put in. Again, no bootlegs. I mean, none of that. No moving the pocket. It's bad. He's
standing there getting hit in the mouth every time he drops back. And again,
right. He no calls.
No call, and he's not calling the plays. And again, this game got out of hand. It's one thing about the stats that's telling. It's another skew. Derrick Henry, 17 carries for 121. He had 12 carries at halftime for 100 and some change.
That's right.
And you only went down by 13, which is still you can run your offense. You stop really feeding him the ball like you were feeding him the ball. And again, that goes to play calling. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought Tannehill, if there's one thing he's done this year, he's proved just how tough of a quarterback he really is.
But the thing about it too, man, and you notice this in the running game, especially in the first half, you notice the side they were running on. They were running on the right.
Yeah. Right side, yeah.
Yeah.
And you had to, because Dennis Daly was still getting he was getting on the ground on run plays.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So, Tannehill, I thought, played a good game. He did the best he could with what he had. Like I said, if he had more time to make some plays, there were some plays where he missed some guys, I would say. But overall, if he had more time, then you see a much more accurate game. He started off pretty well, but
and I can't even blame him for the time, because you already know what happens when he starts getting hit. He gets happy feet. Jay Lee, you talked about it a lot, man. Even the phantom pressure, even if it's not there, he's still gonna feel it because he don't trust that left side of the offensive line, which is his blind side. And so, how can a quarterback sit in the pocket? You got a blind side that's gonna get you murdered. So,
it's just like even on that interception to NWI, the way they were running the plays, he was like, get the ball out quick.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. There was one play they ran, and I'm like, well, dang, he didn't have time enough to look up everybody, because everybody's running 15-yard routes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and nobody ran across the middle. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, man, this is really pathetic. So I go back to what I say, and I stick by that one. We won't win another game, not with Downing.
The red zone offense was good, 3 for 3 today, but again, turnovers will get you beat every time. It kept, again, you mentioned the J. Lou, the Jags are 4-8, but if you get on them, but you don't turn the ball over, you get on them. I mean, they're gonna take their foot off the gas. I mean, the game is over at that point, right?
Yeah, they're gonna get down real quick.
Yeah.
But the last scene I got of your boy Trevor Lawrence was him doing this, like
waving bye-bye.
Well, yeah. And so again, you like the fact that they got Chig involved, Hooper involved, in Wood. So good distribution of the football. But again, I thought Jay Lou was kind of talking about the game. Who will be calling the plays after the scripted plays? I kind of thought one time, because you saw a quad formation. The Titans never run a quad formation that I've seen that they've been in Nashville. And so you saw that. I was okay, maybe Tim Kelly, but then you saw the tight formations come back where you motion the guys to the box and you still trying to run the ball with 10 people at the line of scrimmage. So I don't know, man. It's just so frustrating that Downing cannot call the plays based upon the situation of the game. So again, this is broken record, guys. Broken record every week. Play calling, offensive line not holding up tight formations, and then 8 points in the second half. So
well, I just it's like it is what it is, man.
yeah.
I started looking up stuff, man, because I'm like, I can't, because my whole thought process, we cannot be the only ones seeing this.
No, somebody I can't remember who said in the chat. They were saying, why do they keep running racy on goal routes and not slants and posts? Nobody really runs slants and posts. You look at it.
Well, I think they try to use him as their 50-50 ball type guy. He
couldn't get no separation.
He never created separation. Like to Tannehill's credit, I'm glad he at least threw him up there because that's what people see him do. But every instant replay they showed, the defender was right. He never separated from him.
Pocket.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, and that's the thing about it. It's just.
I think if you see Traylon Burks in this offense, I think you can see the potential Racing McGrath has. From that standpoint. And that's Tannehill spread it all around today, but that's what you were missing. You didn't have that one dog out there that could take over the game, that can win, and you needed him in a game like this because this is a game where to me, and again, you just fell behind the sticks. The passing game was efficient and the running game was eating. You just gave the Jags extra possessions because you couldn't hold on to the ball.
Right. And so I'm gonna add on to that. You said you didn't have the dog to win, but you do. You got Chig and you got Hooper.
Yes.
Hooper ran away from Josh Allen today in that coverage. And so don't tell me that you can't scheme something up for those two guys.
But your offensive line has got to hold up.
That's why you go quick short game. Which we see receivers running deep.
And somebody put it in the chat earlier that the last couple of weeks, now take Philly out of it because Philly's just more talented, but they still, just from scheme-wise, they still did the same thing. The last few weeks, teams have been beating the Titans at the Titans' own game. We have been getting punked on the defensive line and offensive line. So the Jags today, they were not little brother. They controlled the line of scrimmage, but you saw what they did with Trevor Lawrence. Again, they tight end.
Out of the pocket.
They tight end got a third of his yards today. And they got him out the pocket, and he didn't really have a lot of deep passes. They were medium to intermediate type shots that were quick, where that negates the pass rush. We do not do that enough. And when we do it, it's the slow developing screen that almost gets intercepted because everybody in the stands knows it's coming. So I don't think this offense does enough. I don't think we mix and match enough because outside of the 2-minute drill, we don't even run up tempo no more to even have that rhythm, which slows down the pass rush.
What have I been saying?
Right. And even when they were running up tempo, J. Lou, they were still wasting too much time.
Yes.
Getting in the huddle. Look, Evan Ingram had a career day today, 11 for 162 and 2 touchdowns. So
that's the thing about it. I mean, here's the thing we got, and this is where the injuries in the secondary really came to the forefront because really, I mean, Mitchell was playing 7 to 8 yards off, and they were just like drive, turn, ball's going to be there.
Yeah,
shoot, he was 10 yards off.
10 yards.
Yeah, put it out. He was 10 yards. He was at the stick. He was playing sticks coverage.
He was backing up so much. I mean, like, dude, you can't cover nobody like that.
He's playing sticks coverage.
What they were doing, a lot. But see, here's the problem you got with this offense. In all honesty, is that your formations give everything away.
Yep.
Your formation. That's why you can't put it like this. I was looking it up in the third quarter, and except for I think it was 2 games, we never had a drive to open up the third quarter.
Yeah, no. It's always been 3 and out.
It's only 2 games.
Yeah.
And in all those games, you had the same issue. It didn't matter if you came out running the ball. It didn't matter if you came out throwing the ball. If you came out running, it was Henry up to the left, Henry to the right, and then you throwing the pass is incomplete. And then you punting the ball, or either you throwing a pass, you're getting the penalty. One of the two, and you having to get behind the sticks. But either way, you're not getting it out. And defenses are they already know what you're going to run when you come out. I mean, there's nothing different about your formations when you come out. So your formations is giving away every play that you're running. Now you get away with it on the scripted plays. Because today we saw them putting three wide in the beginning and letting Derrick Henry run the ball. Something we've been talking about all season. And then all of a sudden, like Eddie said, once the script ran out, it was back to bringing them all in.
Yeah, it was.
No more plays. I don't know what to call now because my script is over.
No, once the script's over, it's okay. Go to the play call sheet.
Yeah,
Let's go in order.
But see, but that's to me, that's Vrabel's fault.
Yeah.
If you know that stuff's not working, man, do something about it.
I agree.
Say something. Don't come out.
As much as he complained to the officiating today, which was bad, dude, you need to be complaining to your offensive coordinator because when he threw that pass to Chig down deep in the end zone, you just saw that's when the Boo Birds came out and you saw Todd Daniels just walk away because he knew somebody was gonna ring him.
Yeah, I agree, man. This is on Vrabel. You know, you can't come out tomorrow and say, "Oh, we've got to block better. We've got to execute better." No. Now, block better. Yes, that is correct. That is accurate. But play calling, they were chanting "Fire Downing" in the crowd today. Yes. After that flare pass to Chig. Backed up when you in third and long, third and 20, you throw a flash screen to the tight end.
Yeah, that's as worse. That's as worse as running a surrender draw. I mean,
so you trying to go on a drive to score and everything. Your defense does a job and hold them and everything. You get the ball back on a punt, and then, and what are you gonna do? Oh, we're gonna run a direct snap to Henry and have Tannehill fake like the ball's going over his head.
Yeah,
Rodney. So Rodney, to answer your question, he says, "Where do we go from here?" So from here, we get rid of Downing and we get somebody that's playing left tackle. I mean, you got to start with that, right? And you got to get some folks back. We got to get Treylon back, right? And you got to get Tim Kelly the playbook and let him call the plays. You got to do something. Got to get D'Nico back on defense.
You've got to get one of Molding or Fulton back. Because you've got to slide these corners, and I think Molden was missed today more than Fulton.
Because they had Hooker playing a slot.
That's what I was just going to say. If you have Molden playing a slot, you almost could have got away with Hooker playing more on that tight end as opposed to trying to put Adams and everybody else on him. So that is in it alone, you got to get one of them two back as well.
It's really mind blowing that. Everybody can see it, that it's the same old thing. And Vrabel's guy, he can't come out tomorrow and say, we got to execute better. No, man, it's past time for that. This team is on the verge of not making the playoffs. And let that happen, and it's going to be some old heads roll. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Man, it's bad.
And so we already kind of hit on a little bit, but let's look at the defense side of the ball, guys. So, Jay Lewis, I just don't understand, man, the coverage. And I understand, Bowen, because he doesn't have the confidence in the secondary right now. But, man, again, like I said last week, if you're going down, you go down swinging, throwing haymakers.
I would have been calling Engage 8 a lot. Because for somebody who was supposedly coming in with a bum toe, you didn't put enough heat on him.
No.
And then when he ran free because when we blitzed, we had no gap assignment. He went in there unhinged and missed. And I think it was Cole or one of the linebackers came in unhinged and missed. So there was nothing protecting them there. And then just the one thing that I'm going to continue to dislike Shane Bowen for is that you put just because you run a 3-4 and your rushers are called outside linebackers doesn't mean Bud Dupree should be in coverage.
Never.
Because he got torched twice.
Weaver,
today.
never.
Never. They should never be in coverage. And you did that. Like Bud got embarrassed twice. To his credit, he owned up in it after the game in the locker room on his interview and whatnot, but he shouldn't be in coverage. You should utilize them to rush. So that's the one thing I say about Shane Bowen. And again, I think you starting to see the long season take its toll on the defense. Let's not forget, this is the defense where most of these players played 100 plays a month ago in a game. They in essence have played a game and a half more than the offense when you look at the amount of time they've probably been on the field. So you've got to like, everybody's even stopped. I mean, Tierre Tart, we are not the bullies no more. We're getting punked on, and teams are having it. And the sad part is, teams are punking us with the pass rush. because we still are being stopped whenever they attempt to try to run the ball.
Right.
But you're getting punked at the line of scrimmage because we just can't get there with 4. And then again, you're hoping that you can get right now. David Long's not coming back until the last game of the year because they put him on IR, so he's got to miss 4. So you're hoping you can get Cunningham back, where you can continue to spell guys like your Coles, your Dr. Jackson. And again, I thought Monty Rice played well today. Again,
he did.
Monty Rice again is just like Weaver. This is Monty Rice's rookie year all over again, in essence. So he's learning on the fly. So you've got some pieces there. I think the problem, everybody was talking about J-Rob, and I didn't get to jump on, but I think a lot of that you're seeing that this team, depth-wise, on both sides of the ball, was built on a prayer, hoping that your starters on each side stayed healthy enough. Because that's the only reason I see you. You brought in Daly and we still had Taylor Lewan. So you think, okay, he could spell me a game or two if Taylor goes down, not the whole season. Same thing when you start looking at linebacker depth. Okay, they can spell me a game or two if these guys go down. Well, they haven't played 7, 8, 9 games because of health. So this somebody asked in the thing, are we rebuilding? I think you are seeing the beginning of a competitive rebuild. And by competitive rebuild, I mean it's easy to turn over the roster and still be very competitive because you're young on the defensive side of the ball. So if you can stay healthy on that, you're fine. But the offensive side is where you'll see the competitive rebuild on that side.
More of a turn on the offensive side of the ball.
We hope. We hope. Because right now that ain't what you've been seeing for the and I thought about this, and we didn't bring it up on when we did the quick call after we found out about J-Rob. But in all honesty, what we're seeing with this roster was, I think, what we saw for the 2020 season was the fact that we made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, and J-Rob decided that they were going to try to go and win now and bring in these players that actually don't fit, and it cost us a lot of salary cap room. And it cost us the ability to get some good quality depth players on both sides of the ball, in all honesty. So what we're seeing right now is that, we just have no quality depth at all. It's really struggling. They've been able to they were able to plug and play in the secondary as long as the pass rush was good. But once Archery went down, we had nobody to take the pressure off of Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey played his butt off today. He flat out played.
He's always been that way.
He played his butt off today.
Every game.
We have nobody to take the pressure off of them to make them accountable to anybody else. And you got too many people missing too many tackles on these blitzes and everything. It didn't make any sense. And right now, like you said, I think Molden was missed more today than anything because Molden could be one of the tight ends as well as any running back coming out. And that would have helped as far as speed-wise and coverage. But right now, they were overloading everybody. And you saw too many, the running back out the backfield catching the ball free with plenty of blockers up front. You saw the tight end coming off the side in a screen mode and catching the ball and getting plenty of blockers up front. So you just basically, the injuries are taking its toll. The offense is not moving the ball, so the defense is on the field too many times. I mean, the defense was on the field for 70 plays today, 70 plus plays today? Again, that's way too many. That's way too many. And especially when you look at they did 100 plays against Kansas City, you're going to always go back to that.
Yep.
I mean, but they were averaging over 70 plays a game before that, simply because this offense cannot move the ball, especially in the second half. And they're just getting worn out. The 17-game season is wearing them out. They can't recover,
especially with an early bye, and and this gauntlet of games they just went through with playoff teams in every hand except for Green Bay.
And let's not forget to mention the wacky part of the schedule, because the Titans don't have back-to-back home games until the last 2 games of the year. So in essence, you went since your bye week 5 or 6, you went road home. That travel can take its toll as well.
Right. And again, I just thought, Terrence Mitchell, I don't know if he got hurt there toward the end, but he wasn't even on the field anymore. He looked like he was stretching his leg out a little bit. It might have been another hamstring injury. Andrew Adams, this is probably his worst game he's had since he's been here with the Titans. Secondary is so bad out of position, it wasn't even funny. And I think you see, again, like you mentioned, Jay Lee, you see that toll on Byard because he's doing too much, trying to overcompensate. And, he's out of position a lot of times because he's trying to play all over the field.
And that's what I was going to say. This was probably this was Bayard's worst game since 2020. And it all stems from, to your point about communication, you can see to the last minute, and by the time they were snapping the ball, he was really getting DBs and stuff setting in place. And that's why he was just late and behind on a few plays. So it's definitely taking its toll on him.
Yeah, because you can see McCreary was struggling as well.
Yes. He got thrown in to be cornerback 1. With Fulton being down and Mosley, he was number 1.
Yeah, he played pretty decent.
Yeah, he played. Again, he's a rookie. He's out there fighting. I give him his props.
I mean, I agree with you, Eddie Gray. You have to give it to this defense, man. You know, they're averaging so many plays a game. He says over 70, and yet they hadn't been getting up a lot. You know, of course, you count the Philly game. This game is just one of those abnormalities. They had four turnovers on offense, and still can't run the ball. Trevor Lawrence just threw for 368 yards. But man, it's just, again, I don't really, those passing numbers don't concern me as much because you can't run the ball. You have to do something. And some of those little short, dinky passes, they break for long run. You're gonna get that, right? You're gonna get that. And so again, you gotta give the defense credit, especially when you got guys playing in the secondary that don't have a clue about the defensive scheme. I mean, you can tell, like you said, with Bayard trying to communicate so much. The inside linebacker depth, it hurt us today. You mentioned that Schobert is slow. He can't cover. He was in a lot of situations where he was against Evan Ingram, excuse me.
Evan Ingram.
And he was, it's total mismatch. And then we just couldn't come up with a key stop when we needed one. Couldn't get a turnover, couldn't get a sack. I mean,
even when they
that game changer
was in position to make a play, they couldn't make a play.
We needed that game changing play, and this couldn't get it. And so, I mean, what can you say? The defense is out there, and I could feel them, man. I know what it's like to be out there playing 100 players a game, man. On defense, are you so mad because your offense can't score? And it's
trash.
Yeah, I mean, it's just disheartening, man. It's
like
disheartening.
I said, your offense is killing your defense. That's all it is.
Yeah,
your defense can't get a break. I mean, you got an offense. You got an offense that really, in all honesty, especially in the second half, they can't put a drive together. And again, I go back to the stupidity of the offense. You won't even change up and go quick tempo.
No.
You still we're gonna come together, we're gonna huddle, then we're gonna run this tight formation. We're gonna try to run Derek against a 9-man front that, because we're gonna bring everybody in. And it's just football to me. I mean, you're not even trying to change the tempo to allow your to give your offense a chance to get in some kind of a rhythm.
And then
especially when you got a DT, a left tackle who can't block. If you go hurry up, at least what you do is slow down those rushes to give him a chance to use his quote unquote lead feet to get in position to make a block. Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe.
Yeah, so Dion, great question. Dion says, being a former player yourself, who would the defense be mad in your opinion, the players or Todd Downing? I'm gonna say it's gonna be a little bit of both. And I say it because you got to play call and you like, man, and it reminds me too, when I was in high school and we'd be 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, and we run a fullback trap. Like, why are you running that on 3rd and long? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing in college. You would be mad at the play call, but then you'd also be mad at the offensive line for not holding up. And if you're out there and you're at practice every day and you give it 100%, and you doing the things that you need to do, but then you see the coach see that he has an inept situation on the offensive line, and like, why is he not doing anything about it? I mean, that'll make you frustrated too. You just don't. I mean, you're not gonna come out and say it like they haven't been saying it, but that's frustrating, man. You see that, you see a guy out there that's not really good at his technique or his position. He still is in that position, and what you're saying is there's nobody else, right? And so,
where have we seen that before?
So
dare I say it?
Crazy. It's crazy.
Double threes? Dare I say it?
No, don't say it. Don't say it. And so, just looking at the AFC South standing, and fortunately, like we mentioned before, they play in the AFC South. Titans 7-6, 3 straight losses, guys, and it's just getting uglier by the day. Jacksonville, of course, they win, and then they're just a game out of the division standings, right? And so again, that last game against Jacksonville in Jacksonville could be a Houston Texans type situation where you go down and you have to win that game to wrap everything up. And then of course the Colts, they got on the bye week this week, and then Houston lost again today to Dallas, so they've technically been eliminated from playoffs. And so, guys, it's just this ugly football. 4 weeks left, 2 division games, and you got the Chargers and the Cowboys coming up with a trip to SoFi this weekend against the Chargers. They're 6-6 currently playing right now on Sunday Night Football against the Dolphins, and 27th defense ranked, and then 13th on the offense. They got some injuries on the defensive side of the ball right now that's kind of, put them in a position they are. And they're still fighting for their lives in the AFC West, currently sitting second behind Kansas City, but they're looking at a wild card. And it's going to be tough for them to get a wild card at this point because, AFC North's got 2 teams. The East is probably going to have 2 teams. And so you count one from the South and then, from the West. So they're really this is a huge football game. Well, the Jets are 7-6, so I don't think the East will have 3. But this is a huge football game for them, and they could make it very interesting for the Titans, especially if we don't do any adjustments on this side of football. So, Jay Luke, tell me about the keys for this week, man. They got a good young gunslinger. They got some receivers. They got some running back. They got Eckler, and they got a pretty decent defense as well.
Yeah, you got to be prepared to be in a shootout. There's literally no other key. You have to put on the Green Bay tape this week, and whatever we did in Green Bay, you've got to be ready to do that. Because as terrible as the Chargers are on defense, because I agree, they got I think Bosa's out, and they got a lot of injuries on the defense side of the ball. But the one thing they got on J.C. Jackson too, the one thing they got on offense, they're getting healthy at their wide receiver position. That's and right. They wide receivers look like basketball players out there. So you already know you get little DBs. Right. Yeah, I can already foresee about 10 straight go routes called next week, and they're pretty good at the tight end position too. So if we can't get 1 or 2 pieces back this week on the defensive side, particularly the DBs, it's going to be a long game because you cannot go out. As terrible as the Chargers defense is, you can't go out there thinking you're going to take the air out of the ball by just running it and play time of possession that way. You've got to be ready to really put up some points. Do I think we can beat them? Absolutely. I don't think the Chargers are as vaunted as folks say, simply because I still think Herbert is young enough where he'll give you mistakes. But if you let them hang around long enough, now this is the one thing. This is the one caveat. The Chargers got probably the 3rd dumbest head coach in the league, I think. Because he makes some decisions that really outcoaches himself. So there's a chance the Chargers can charge it next week. So I mean, and again, I'm always going to, I think when it comes to coaching decisions like that, I think Vrabel's a better coach. Now will he make better decisions? That's to be seen, especially when it comes off inside the ball. But the Chargers can outcoach themselves. But that's a game where again, I think it's a late kickoff, right? Because we go out west, a 3:25 kickoff. And you've got to get healthy. Somebody said it earlier that Vrabel need to give them some mental health days off rest. Right. Yeah, something you need to change up something. Maybe you have a couple of walkthroughs in practice all week instead of practicing. I just don't know what it is, because you've got to get healthy. Now, and again, I will tell you this, for all these fans who, and again, I like football outside. I don't mind it, but I don't mind sitting in a dome. For all these fans have been clamoring about they don't want that covered stadium, today was another prime example on why you want that stadium covered. Why? Because it rained for 20,000 days straight in December, and that field looked terrible today on both sides. But they were announcing it on the announcers were saying like, hey, the Titans shouldn't be slipping because it's their home field. Well, no, you understand all that rain made it slick. So again, next week you go inside, you're on that little field turf in SoFi. So it's going to be a battle. But again, this is a game where I think you're looking, if I know G Witt's going to say we can't get over 20. This is a game when you got to get like Green Bay. I think 28 to 30 points is going to have to win this, because this should be a shootout game. And I think we got the dogs to shoot out with them with play calling if we get Burks back. Because as we saw last week before he got knocked out of the game, and we've been seeing, Burks is turning into your number one. And you can get the Chargers defense with that. But it's just going to be, I'm interested to see what happens over at Ascension Sports Park the next 2 days. That'll determine how we look Sunday.
And Deion says we're screwed. They're gonna put up 600 yards passing because our DBs are 5'9". They receivers like 6'5".
6'5", 6'6".
Right. Mike Williams.
So both Mike Williams and
Keenan Allen. Yeah. Joshua Palmer, he's tall too.
Yeah, I think both of them played tonight. G Witt. They both were back tonight.
Yeah. Gerald Everett. Yeah, they're both back.
Yeah.
So he's got his weapons back. And let's not forget they got Eckler. You might stop him running, but he's dangerous catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yes, sir. He is.
Yep. Man, that's gonna be the whole key. And I will say this. If our offense cannot move the ball, that's gonna be the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the biggest problem because here's the thing. I agree with you. If we get some pieces back on defense, that's going to be very helpful. Especially if we can get somebody like Molden, Fulton, and get the Nico Autry back. I think that would be extremely healthy because bottom line is if we get those guys back, that means hopefully our pass rush reemerges and we can get to Justin Herbert and slow that offense down. And then you have somebody like a Hooker or a Bayard or a Molden who can actually guard the slot or catch up with the running back out the backfield. Again, I think on defense, they need to run almost a complete dime, and just having extra safeties in there to play your linebacker position. And you may keep Cole in there just to help out on the running plays and everything because he's good against the run. But really, you need some speed out there. And with David Long Jr. being out and Zach Cunningham not coming back, I don't think this season, you're going to need some speed. So I think you're better off. In all honesty, I would put your boy Adams down there to play in a linebacker position to try to, just to cover. If you don't do nothing else, just cover the running back out the backfield.
One thing, my bad. Molden can't come back. I forgot he's on IR, so you can't get him back until. And somebody asked it earlier because they was like they didn't think he'd come back. They changed the rule in 2022, so you can come back from 2 stints on IRs, but he's not eligible to return until week 18. Yeah. So at this point, you're hoping for Fulton to come back. Fulton and
Avery.
And Avery, Fulton and Avery.
Yeah. The other thing, though, in all honesty, and I'm with you, J. Lou. I'm interested to see what's going to happen tomorrow and Tuesday. Really, I really am, because I said it earlier and I stick by that. If Todd Downing is calling plays, if he's your OC, you won't get close. Your defense will play good in the first half, and they'll get boat raced in the second half because your offense can't move the ball. And that's just when your offense only averages less than a touchdown. Less than really, if you look at 4.6, they're averaging a field goal in the second half. So that means they can't put together drives. They're averaging. They get what I think what they had to this today. 4 possessions in the second half? Maybe
they only had the ball for like 2 minutes in the third quarter.
So. Yeah, I was going to say maybe 4.
Maybe 4 possessions.
Maybe.
That just lets you know that you can't move the ball. So unless this offense flips and starts moving the ball and making drives and cut out these turnovers, I mean, you're gonna still have. Bottom line is you need to you got to play Hooper and Chig more because you're gonna have to have Hooper there chipping. He did a great job chipping today, I thought. You got to put Chig out in the pattern, and if you get Burks back, I think that helps open things up because Chig has proven himself that people are taking notice of him. So if you got him and Burks out there, that's going to open up your passing game a little bit more, and finally maybe somebody will start going across the middle and making a catch or two. But really, the bottom line is going to be this: if Todd Downing is calling the plays, no, I'm just going to call it like it is. No.
Well, I was about to say, it don't matter if Chig and Burks are on the field together. If you can't call the plays to get them open, it don't matter. It don't matter. I agree with you, Eddie. It's an old school play action, man. Ain't that difficult? I agree, man.
It's not.
I agree. It's not difficult. And so my keys for this game for the defensive side of the ball is if the Nico's not back, we're gonna have to generate pressure by blitzing. He's gonna have to run some zone blitzes. Somebody said something about zone blitzes. He might have to do some cover 0 man blitzes. I mean, it's not like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are great big body receivers, but they're not fast. So don't be afraid of getting burned deep.
Yeah,
you can run with them. They might out jump you, but at least give your DBs at least a chance to stay with them, kind of stay on top of them. because you're gonna bring some heat. So I would like to see more of that. I think that'll be a key to the game if they get back to Herbert, get some hits on him, get him happy in the pocket, and and bring the heat and turn up a little bit. Of course, offensively, you've got to get the ball out of Tannehill's hands. It don't matter what you do. You got to get Tim Kelly calling the plays. You got to get a new left tackle, even though I don't think that's going to happen. I would hope that it would happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if it's not going to happen, have a game plan to get the ball out quick and often.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just that simple. It's that simple. And don't go ahead.
And with the way this offense has been going, even with a hurry up drive, you're going to use more time than you would if you just went 3 and out, and that still gives your defense more rest.
Oh, I'm going 3 and out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know because it's been happening so much shit lately.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, if you go hurry up and puts together some drives and everything, you're gonna get more time for your defense to rest and not have to face that offense.
Oh, okay. I thought you said go 3 and out, give them rest. I said, man, they've been doing that already.
I said no. What I'm saying is, if you go hurry up, if you're worried about time factor for your defense, going hurry up and putting together a drive is going to give the defense more time to rest than going 3 and out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting presser tomorrow for Vrabel. He's got to really look in the mirror and decide on if he's going to be the guy that makes the changes that he probably don't want to make, or is he just going to stay as is and let the season ride out and see what happens afterwards. So, and he might be looking at that Ohio State job. It might be looking good to him.
He might be looking at Ohio State, man.
It might be looking good to him. He might be like, hey, man.
He might be saying, look, I don't need this.
So, I don't know.
I can go teach young men, but really, in all honesty, your boy, man, he's just, Dennis Daly is just, God.
Well, I don't even know. Will says, which team would be an easy matchup for the players? At this point, I don't even know. I don't even know because
you hope that the Jets somehow get to the 5 seed.
Well,
because that'd be the only team. That'd be the only team,
and that's only because their offense is
trash.
It's not very good.
Yes. However, it.
Their defense is
off the defense is but they don't have the offense.
Yeah, they offense is bad though.
Everybody else you don't have.
Does that sound
manpower.
Familiar? That sound familiar, doesn't it? Right. So
everybody else you don't have the manpower.
Yeah. And he said, reason why we don't know. So Tim Kelly, like I said, Tim Kelly's there. Let's see what happens, man. I don't know. We'll see. Vrabel he's a good coach, but for some reason he's sticking with Downey.
So this is my thought, and the only reason I say this is because we saw this happen in 2020. He didn't get rid of Shane Bowen because all he kept saying was the players. If you go back and look at earlier conversations,
I hate that you saying this because he's right. That's true.
From March till now, you've heard Vrabel take subtle shots at the offensive. Who we gonna throw the ball to, and at the offensive staff. So I think, and again, I don't agree with it. I don't think he's made the change in season because, again, I still think it comes after season. But I think the small pass that Downing is getting is the same exact one that Shane Bowen got when we said I didn't have the players to make the scheme work.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Great point. Great point.
I agree. It's a good point. I definitely agree that it's a good point. However, he had the players earlier in the season, and they still were trash.
He hasn't. So think about it. He hadn't had the players all season.
That's
your
right.
Your left tackle went out on the first play against the Giants. You didn't. So he got hurt the first. Buffalo. I'm sorry, Buffalo.
Yeah.
You didn't have the player in April because now we know he didn't agree to the AJ Brown trade. So when I say pieces around, I think that it is probably a lot more coming out now that J-Rob's been let go, and we see that. But because we kept talking about it back and forth that we thought it had to be. You never see an owner select a coach. Rumors are not about Ohio State. You never see them select a coach over a GM. Vrabel can miss the playoffs this year, and he's still safe.
No,
he's safe with Amy. So again, I think that's where I say, what do we say about Vrabel? Even 2 years ago when he was the pseudo defensive coordinator, I think he built the defense on how he wanted it. And I think J-Rob built the offense to say, this is our philosophy. Let's make it work. Because again, if you go back to last year, Julio Jones is not a Vrabel guy. Vrabel don't like folks on the team that can't practice, but yet that was a move J-Rob brought in to kind of fit your offense and work with him. So that's the only reason, G-Wick, because I'm trying to think like him on why he would give a pass. And again, his history repeats itself because we just saw him do it 2 years ago. Now, again, I still think because, as Deion's pointed out, he finally had, remember, Downey wasn't his first choice. The only reason Downey is our coordinator is because the Texans wouldn't give permission with Tim Kelly.
That's right.
Now that you have him on the staff, I think you let him ride it out, and you already know at the end of the year. This is a little different than Amy go ahead and firing J-Rob, because you don't need J-Rob talking to the college players if I know you're going to be gone anyway. Hey, if he's going to leave, might as well change the philosophy next year. However, I do still think, though, I don't think you'll hear anything come out about him saying Todd Downing has been let go. I just think we'll see a lot more of the Green Bay game going forward. If we see a lot more of the Green Bay game going forward, then we know Amy called him in the office and said, take play calling the way Tim's got to call it.
Man, we've been talking about that for what, 4 weeks now?
Yeah, he went out and got drunk, and they just let him had a range back.
We've been talking about that for 4 weeks, man, and I'm telling you right now, it really, in all honesty, you know, the thing about it is, and I understand what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just think the situation is different because, first of all, that first year that Shane Bourne was called, quote unquote, calling the defense, we all knew it was Vrabel calling the defense. Let's just be real. We all knew that. So, you know, what does he do the next year? He goes out and he gets your boy from out of who left Detroit, brings him in.
Jimmy Schwartz.
And all of a sudden you see the defense by the midway point of the last season, you see them make a complete turnaround. Same thing this year. You see them coming out, they struggled the first couple of games, but then after that, they started making a turnaround. You know, you look at some of the scores and the games that we won. I mean, they weren't giving up 20 points a game. And that's solid NFL defense. But the problem you got with Todd Downing, man, this has been going on for 2 years. And really, it's hit a wall for a year and a half. It started about the midway point of last season. And you still don't see the offense improvement. I mean, it didn't work well last year, even with AJ. And this year, with the injuries you've had on offense and with the players you got, it's just not working. Todd Downing, it's an offensive philosophy that's not working.
100% agree.
And the thing about it is, you don't give him a pass. Now, I said it last week. So I'm in total agreement with you. Tim Kelly, you could leave Todd Downing on the sideline or whatever, or throw him up in the booth and bring Tim Kelly down. However you want to do it, but let somebody else call the plays, get this offense in a rhythm. But the bottom line is, he's got to go. If he's calling plays, we won't win. I'm telling you. I've seen this way too many times. If Todd Downing is calling plays, we won't win because your defense is worn out. Your defense is worn out, and when Todd Downing calls plays, you can't mount drives. I'm just bottom line.
Eddie Gray says no. He said no. The offense was trash as game one last year.
He's got a point.
But remember, we said that last year. But remember, they had some games where they actually scored like 30, 34, 35.
And what was happening on defense? It was getting stops, getting some turnovers, some sacks.
And getting turnovers.
That's right.
And again, I go back to the Rams game last year. You go back and look at the defense scored on an interception. David Long got an interception, brought it back inside the 5. That's how the offense was scoring.
That's right.
Right now, what you got going on though, you can't mount drives. Your defense isn't getting turnovers, but you can't mount drives. You can't even put a partial drive together. You're doing 3 and outs, and that just don't work. I mean, at least put together a 15, 20 play. I mean, not a 15, but an 8 to 10 play drive that's going to give your defense some time to sit on the sideline.
Put together at least 6.
That's what I'm saying. You give me 8 to 10 plays, that's good. But, at least the defense gets some rest. They can look at the Polaroids, the tablets and everything, make adjustments and try to do something.
He said
right.
Polaroids.
I'm old school, man. I'm old school.
Like, man, what's a Polaroid, man?
Polaroid,
Man, this is 2022, man.
But I'm just saying, though. I mean, but really that's the problem. And until you get this offense fixed, this defense is going to get worn out. They'll play good in the first half, but after a while, it's going to. And you seen the cracks now because they struggle stopping Jacksonville in the second quarter.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
You've seen the cracks now.
You saw the defense again, the lack of depth across the defensive front, and what happens? Your dogs got to come out. Jeffrey Simmons had to come out. Bud Dupree's ineffective without Jeffrey Simmons out there.
Yep.
You see Mario Edwards Jr. He's not being effective because the Nico's not out there.
Right.
You see Walker. He's not being effective because the Nico's not out there along with Jeff. So, I mean, it's just a trickle effect, right? It trickles down. Your secondary is lining up 10 yards off the ball, giving a quick 5 to 7 yard route completions. And it just boils over. Your offense is going 3 and out. They're getting holding penalties, they're false starting, they're fumbling the ball. So it's a caveat, a lot of stuff. And so it's just they got a coach. The coach is again, I lay it out on Vrabel. He's got to be the one to say, hey, we got to do this and stop doing this because it ain't working.
And defensive players on camera crying and everything because they play like trash don't move the needle for me at all. It don't move the needle for me at all. Dude, come on.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. He said, who do we see as a good GM candidate? I'm not really sure. I know they were talking about that guy from the Texans at one time. They were talking about, our own in-house candidate. Not really sure right now. I hadn't really looked into that, but I mean, that's something I'm gonna look up and see who's out there and who's got the hot name right now. But because you got to, and somebody mentioned it earlier in the chat, it's time to, and I think Jay Lou, you might have said this before, or one of you guys, it's time to adapt the team to currently what's going on in the NFL. So, NFL is a copycat league, right?
Yeah, somebody did put that in there about, Miss Amy wants to see a passing team. And you're right. I mean, Derrick Henry can still be impactful, but he don't need to be the focus of your offense. Right. And if you look at this team, somebody had mentioned about how J-Rob built it. We got receivers who are good at blocking. Not necessarily good at catching per se. That was the difference. I think that's the difference we had 2 years ago when you had Corey Davis and AJ Brown. They both could block, but them boys both could win one-on-one and catch the ball. And you don't have that with the receivers now. So you built the team around Derrick Henry. So it's, again, you can see a lot of changes in the offseason. There's I've already been looking at the cap and playing with it. There's a few bodies you can get rid of that could free up about $80 million and $90 million quickly. I continue to stand on the fact that if Taylor Lewan still wants to play football, I think somehow they find a 1-year deal to get him back on a cheap end. And I actually am okay with that because I think that gives you time to then draft or find a young left tackle to bring Jones up.
Oh, man.
And then I also, somebody had put in there earlier about Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley will be a Tennessee Titan next year.
Yeah.
Because he was drafted in the first round, you're not going to take an $8 million dead cap hit to release him. So he will be a Tennessee Titan next year. After that, the cap comes a little friendly, but he'll be back next year. But it's going to be interesting in offseason. And back to the GM question, I'm sure they'll do the interview process because we know that the Titans will interview, but I think you'll see somebody that's already employed over there will be the GM if they name it. Be on the lookout for the guy they call Stretch over there to take a bigger role. And if Vrabel gets that executive president title, only one coach in history has had it, and he did terrible with it, and that was Jeff Fisher. He had a little bit too much power. I think the difference between the pretty, as G. Wick calls him, and Vrabel, I don't think Vrabel wants to have say on the players he picks. I just think he wants to have a conversation, if that makes sense. I think the new GM, I think Amy would rather them take a little bit more of his input, because I think that's the two things between him and J-Rob. We mentioned about both of them being stubborn in their ways, and I think this next one, she probably wants more of a partnership with Vrabel.
My suggestion is don't make anybody, get somebody from the outside to make them your EVP.
I think
don't make your inside.
I 100% agree with that. I just think that I don't think that's an Adams family philosophy.
Right.
Going back to Bud, man.
I think you keep the roles separate.
Yeah.
And that way they can do what they're supposed to do. I think you go out and you find your EVP, or somebody like a Jeff Diamond who was here when they first got here, and basically you got somebody who's in between. You don't make your GM an EVP. You don't make your coach an EVP.
Agreed.
You keep those jobs separate. You're gonna pay them. They're gonna get the money, but you keep the job separate. You get somebody from the outside to be an EVP to handle all of that kind of stuff. But you definitely go out. If you're gonna go outside, go to those teams who have people on their staffs where you see they're drafting good talent. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who knows to go out there because, again,
when you say drafting,
my brother-in-law's giving me the blues because he said you love J-Rob. J-Rob did a good job at the beginning. It just went down south real quick. But here's the thing I'm saying. Go somewhere where they're drafting good talent, where you see that happening on the field with that team. And you may get, the director of player personnel as opposed to a GM. You may get something like, because that's what J-Rob was, but you might get somebody, you got to get somebody with a good scouting background who knows how to evaluate players. That's really what you need to have as far as your GM's concerned. They got to be able to evaluate players.
They got to be able to evaluate players and their medical histories.
Yes.
That's what J-Rob's downfall was. So J-Rob's downfall was because the Titans were successful. And you might say, what do you mean? 2019, when we went to the AFC Championship, and in 2020, when you realize you can take any old Nick and Joe and put them in, plug and play, and we play successful, that made you start saying, okay, well, let me just cut some corners and go cheap and go cheap and go cheap. And you end up with Dennis Daly as your starting left tackle.
Yeah, it definitely caught up with it. And I agree with you totally. That's why I'm saying, you got to go somewhere where they know how to evaluate talent.
Yeah.
And basically be able to and understand the whole process of the game. Again, to me, I'm probably agree with you. There's probably somebody who's already on the staff. That's probably going to be it. But if you're going to go outside and interview those players those guys who've been around and knows how to evaluate talent to get some consistent talent in here. So that's what we're missing. So we just don't have talent right now, except for our starters. And our starters are getting worn out and broken up.
Yep.
On defense.
Oh, yeah.
Because the starters on offense not that good.
Yeah. With the exception of what? Burks.
So they're gonna have to invest in the offensive line like the Bengals did in the offseason. They're gonna spend some money. 5 new starters next year.
Well, you definitely got to do that. I would say this: if anything, if you can sign Nate Davis back and keep NFP, NPF, I think you keep that helps you out. You can draft a center and get you another guard. You may have your guard on there because they definitely think Radons is better a guard.
You do have your guard. You just won't play him. You should have played him. He that's another one where you're being stubborn. Again, I don't know what Keith, I can't think of Keith's last name, offensive line Carter. What are y'all doing over there? Because there's no way. Aaron Brewer's story is nice, but Aaron Brewer's a backup, and he should not be your starting left guard.
Right. And
he don't have enough lead in his pants. He's all. I mean, that 55 was always in Tannehill's face. I mean, I don't understand how he can see it. That's why he can't see anybody throw the ball to. If he was tall, he would really be in trouble.
Oh man,
he can't see anybody short, so that's why he keep throwing it long.
And I agree with you on that. I mean, you got to revamp the offensive line, and you got to revamp your defensive line. You still, I mean, you got Archer, you got Simmons. You got to go out and get some quality. You got Pop-Tart. You got to go out and get some quality dogs, man. Because right now you're running subs, and they're depth players. They're not supposed to be there all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we hit on that a little bit earlier, but it's time to reevaluate this strength and conditioning staff.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I mean, they really, that's 2 years in a row that you've got
that you're leading
all
the
these
league
issues.
in injuries.
I'm gonna point out again. All you heard about the AJ Brown contract was they were worried about his knees and giving him money. He ain't been injured yet since he been in Philly.
Well, look at
Playing
everybody
the
that's
game.
left.
Everybody's
Look at
left.
left, pretty much.
Yes.
Corey
Conklin.
Davis is still having his issues down there, but nothing.
That's the only one. Cord and then and Julio, but I think he's back now.
Yeah,
But
Conklin.
yeah, and they
Janu, and he's been a little banged up, but he's still been playing. And so again, though, Adora, he had a few little issues when he went to the Giants at first, but he's playing well.
He's playing well.
And so, it is what it is at this point. But hey, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime. I can't do nothing but laugh. Hey, thank you for the comments and questions. Thank y'all for joining us tonight for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. They down there, G with J. Lou.
$5 favor.
We out of here, man.
Peace.